Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Keparu with an exclusive video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about the third dimensional matrix trap. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, hit the subscribe bell to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. There is no obligation. You can cancel at any time. As a supporter, you'll get exclusive access to instructional videos, articles, mantras, videos that will teach you about how to put together a magical amulet, how to do meditations properly, breathing exercises to calm you down, how to contact spirits or your guardian angels, how to do lucid dreaming. And we also have a video series on ancestral curses, how do you get rid of them, and a lot of really good articles, a really great one on Aleister Crowley. And then finally, we have a whole dictionary on mantras that will show you how to attract a lover or attract money and so much more. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So namaste, Haru Nefer. I think it was P.T. Barnum that said there's a sucker born every minute. And I hate to bring it down to that level, but what I am seeing is the oligarchy, the Illuminati, increasing their grip on people, especially African Americans, ADOS, FBA, and we've fallen for the okie doke, and this is because we're using these things as a crutch. You see, this country has put us in such dire straits to where, we're impoverished, that we're going to hang on to anything, whether it's tangible or not. And what do I mean by this? Well, you see the young folks today, and all this is about bling, materialism, getting paid, being a boss bitch. There's a video making the rounds on social media about this young black girl who was trying to set up this date with this young brother out of state. And when she talks about what attracted her to him, it was all about, the gold chain, that he's a boss. He can spend 30, 40,000 here and there and it not be an issue, and that he's a thug, or a thug N-word is how she said it. And these are all illusions. And I know she's young, but here's the thing. Many of our people live their lives with this as their God. They actually believe in these things. If you think some young cat is running around and has the ability to pop off 30,000, 40,000 here and there, then you're living in an illusion. And in the Indian culture, they called it Maya. You're not seeing reality for what it is. But we're all trapped in this matrix, this 3D matrix, which is the third dimensional, the Saturnian energy, the energy of Saturn, which is base level energy. You're not seeing clearly. You see, the oligarchy is configuring ways to remove us from this planet. And you are caught up in materialism, in the third dimension. And this has contributed to the idea that we are the physical, that you are the avatar. You are the physical body. And this is where we get racism from. This left brain segregative thinking that was created by Europeans to trap the planet in third dimension. Materialism, physicality. And if you believe that's the end all and be all to existence, then you are severely misguided. Because you are, as our ancestors said, consciousness. You are not a gender. You are not a color. You are not a nationality. You are not a political affiliation. You are not part of the alphabet community. You are not Afro-American. You are consciousness. Our ancestors learned to separate the spirit from the physical body. And as a spirit, we were able to travel the universe, travel to different dimensions. Yeah, they use certain medicine as a lotus flower to help them to achieve this effect. But they realized the true essence of who we are. You see, what separates you from experiencing these things is the ego. Now, the ego has a purpose, but in today's modern society, it has gone amok because the ruling elite has created a society that nurtures the ego, that feeds the ego, that makes you believe that you are the ego, the avatar. So you think it's the end all and be all of existence. So you out there, you hunting to be a boss bitch. You hunting to get paid and make money, to drive 4 or 5 sports cars. But not even considering or thinking what is important in life. And it has nothing to do with those physical things. You see, when you come into the realization that you are God, that you are consciousness, then you know you can experience what we call as 5D, which is oneness with all things. And then you come into a very wonderful experience that there is no real thing as racism, sexism, that those are concoctions, that they were created by a select group on this planet, an evil group who remains hidden. Racism is not organic. Or I should say white supremacy is not organic. It didn't just spring up naturally. It was created through the use of occultism. These evil people know how to create what we call as ergomores. And ergomores are thought viruses. They're spirits. And these spirits, or we can call them pendulums, can grow and become powerful and encapsulate people, indoctrinate them. And the ergomore of white supremacy is strong on this planet. And the reason it's strong is because it was created, nurtured, fostered by the ruling elite to keep you trapped in the reincarnation cycle. You see, you're supposed to be learning how it's not the material things that are important in this life. Therefore, when you pass on and you go before the hall of Ma'at, and your heart is weighed against the feather, and your heart weighs lighter than the feather, then you are allowed to pass and go into so-called heaven. And then you have the option of not being reincarnated and being a slave to this system. But the more your heart is heavy-hearted or attached to things, cars, houses, money, drugs, then the more apt you are to be caught up in the reincarnation cycle. Because The ruling elite needs initiates. They need you. You are a slave as long as you exist on this planet. Because the more you're reincarnated, the more control they have over you. This is why the Buddhist monks spend their entire lives trying to transcend materialism. But meanwhile, the people who are most susceptible to the hand of the oligarchy is black people. Right now, we think so superficially. We're not, and I'm going to be honest with you. This video is going to be 100% honest and keep it real. We're not fighting white supremacy. Most black men are scared. Most black men are scared because you've been taught to be that way through generation after generation after generation. You have been taught to be afraid. But you won't turn your guns on the white man. No, you will not do that. No, no. See, you go around with this peasantry, the Million Monkey March, with this ominous look, with your dark glasses and your hoodie. But you're a bitch. It's not your fault. But again, you've been trained. You've been taught to be afraid. And you've been taught to hate your own brothers and sisters. That's why it's so easy for you to kill them or harm them if they step on your Jordans. But when you come into an understanding of your true essence and who you are, then you know you're God. Then you know your consciousness, and you know that you can travel to other worlds and other dimensions and interact with spiritual beings who will give you guidance, and you will transcend the fear of death. But right now, as long as you are tied to third dimensional thinking, which is based on feeding the ego, you're going to fear death. You're going to worship materialism. You're going to participate in crimes and support white supremacy indirectly, such as going to the Christian church, praising you, Jesus, even though your ancestors created the greatest spiritual system on the planet. I want you to think about it. When you learn the techniques of separating your spirit from your body and traveling and experiencing that you're not a color and that these beings that you meet don't look upon you as a color or a gender, it's wild. And then you will realize that everything that you have been taught in this world has been a lie. Has been a lie. Do you understand that? That you are not the physical. That there are different realms. Parallel realities. Different dimensions that you can experience. You don't need to be stuck here. You don't need to be powerless. Because you know that you are an infinite being. You had no beginning and you will have no end. That you share in the same powers of God, not in quantity, but in quality. That the whole story of the resurrection is to have your power, have Osir within you rise up. And right now, you're trapped and living in third dimension, 2 dimensions of space and 1 of time, the material world. Your goal should be to experience and get to the 5D, the fifth dimension, but you haven't been taught anything about that. And what you have been taught, you make fun of it as some mumbo jumbo, some spiritual mumbo jumbo. Because you've been fooled. You've been tricked by the trickster. So you think the end all and be all is the physical realm. You don't understand the higher dimensions of being. Our people are on such a road of destruction. The rap has become increasingly materialistic, increasingly sexist and perverted, but it's done on purpose. So that you can worship Satan or Set. It's now the rap music is praising drugs, praising the Hollywood lifestyle, praising indiscriminate sex. And you don't realize that when you become a god, you can manifest these things on your own. You can manifest anything you want. They have us to the degree of where we're hustling. And this hustle that we colloquially use really is committing crimes. So that you can pretend you're wealthy. You can pretend you're rich. You can go on Instagram and post you with money and gold chains and things to make it look like you have arrived. And you haven't. You have gotten there through dubious means. And you can't sustain it. It's not sustainable. So this generation now, all they do is listen to rap and praise actors and singers and sports figures. They know nothing of real black history. They know nothing of who we really are. They're caught up in a cycle of death. There's no doubt about it. My brother passed away chasing that. I remember I was teaching up at Howard University, and he came there. And I was pleasantly surprised. Oh, it's great that you visited me. I didn't know. And we ended up getting into an argument because my brother, who was unemployed at the time, was arguing with me why he thinks he deserves a $20,000 Rolex watch. And I was like, Floyd, there's no need. Whether it's a $20 watch or a $20,000 watch, they both tell the same time. And you're unemployed. You have no means of income. Why are you trying to get a $20,000 watch? What is wrong with you? And that was back then. So things have become worse. Women are now getting on social media, catfishing, paying more money for their hair, their makeup, their clothes than they are for their kids' education. This is not how our ancestors wanted us to lead. And it's all because of white supremacy. Make no mistake, it's not your fault. It's white supremacy. But you do have a free will. So you are accountable for the decisions that you make. So instead of looking and pulling the curtain to see the wizard pulling the strings, you go along with the program in the matrix. You try to look like a boss bitch. And all of you are pretending. And you're pretending, and the women out there trying to chase guys because they look thuggish, because they could pop bottles and they can spend 30, 40,000 here and there. That guy does not exist. You're chasing Maya. You have lost who you are, and one day reality is going to hit you hard. Because you are worshiping the ego. You are caught up in the ego. And instead of learning and understanding the truth that you are consciousness and that you have the ability to separate yourself from your body and traverse the universe and become one with self, to understand who you really are, instead of doing that, you get caught up in the court jester's pranks to fool you into chasing something that doesn't exist. And even if you were to accumulate this wealth, at what price? At what price? These ministers, the T.D. Jakes and the Joel Osteens, they're the liars. They're the tricksters. Christian religion has done so much damage on this planet. And I'm sorry to reveal this to you, but those religions were created by the oligarchy, the Illuminati. They created those religions to keep you trapped in third-dimensional thinking. Every one of those ministers preaches about money. They don't preach about ascending to 5D, becoming one with God, dissolving the ego. You see, the secret is to become one with God, to experience God. That ego has to be dissolved. See, the ego was created for a good purpose. The ego centers you in individuality. And for God to have an experience, because God wants to experience itself. And in the beginning, there was only one. There was just God. And God split into two. And that is the very act that created the ego. Because individuality, God in the original state and form had nothing to interact with. Therefore, since it was only God, the one, it could not experience itself. But when it separated itself and looked back upon itself, that created individuality and the ego. That way, God can experience other people, riding on a plane, train, car, interacting with all manner of things. But to get back to source, to get back to God, that ego, that individuality of things has to collapse back onto its original self, which is oneness, 5D. So our ego was created for a beneficial purpose, for having an experience. But the ruling elite knew about the ego. And they said, if we can nourish the ego through materialistic pursuits, we can keep them from experiencing 5D. And if we can keep them from experiencing 5D, their souls will continually reincarnate and make them our slaves forever. Because once you experience 5D and your pursuit in your life is about nullifying the ego and experiencing that oneness with God, when it comes time for the judgment in the hall of Ma'at, then your heart will weigh lighter than a feather, and then you'll be given the option of going to heaven or coming back to earth as a sage to lead the masses. But if you choose to stay into three-dimensional thinking, you will reincarnate over, chasing material things over and over, and you'll never get out of that karmic cycle. You will stay a slave in this plane of existence to the Illuminati. Your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, will never grow. It will never transcend. You will always be a servant of them instead of their rulers. You are a slave. You will always have white supremacy as long as you nourish the ego. Because white supremacy cannot exist when you're making contact with 5D, fifth dimension, because there is no racism and no sexism in 5D. There is simply the oneness of all things. In 5D, fifth dimension, you are God. You experience that firsthand. There is no individuality in 5D. There is only oneness, the original state, your original state, Source's original state. But when you're in 3D, that's individuality. That's the worship of the ego, which has gone amok. So all you're going to do in 3D is trace or chase your record deal. Chase getting pussy. Chase getting dick. Chase being a boss bitch. Chase popping bottles and making it rain. I'm a thug nigga. I got it going on. I got 5 businesses. None of them are real. I pop balloons. Watch that YouTube program, Popping Balloons, where contestants come up, ask these girls or these guys questions, and based on that determine if they are somebody they want to get with. And if the balloon is popped, that means they don't want to get with you. And most often, balloons are popped because black people are superficial in thinking. We look at you and then we make a quick judgment. Black women don't want to build a man. They don't want to join a man and help him build his business until he becomes wealthy. They just want a man who comes ready-made, a millionaire, a billionaire, a boss man. Whereas a white woman, she will work with you. She will say, I will work hard so that we both benefit and our business will flourish together. I'm not saying that a white woman is better for you. I'm just telling you the dysfunction of black people. Black people are so caught up in 3D, we're losing our damn minds. White supremacy has caused us to be mentally ill. Don't say, no, that's not me. No, it is you. You are mentally ill. You put a fish in a fish bowl and you don't clean the water, it's going to become dirty, and whatever fish is in that water, it's going to be sick. You think you are right, but you're not. Our ancestors laid the foundation. Our Kemetic ancestors, the Egyptian ancestors, laid the foundation of the tree of life to help you ascend to 5D And instead of us preserving our religion, following it, because they built the pyramids, one of the seven wonders of the world, they knew what they were doing. Instead of following it, we run to Christianity, which enslaved us, which teaches us Jesus is white, and that the Jews are the chosen people, not us. And realistically, you don't want to be saved because you want the shortcut. You think hustling and cheating and committing crimes against other black people, Jay Morrison, Umar Johnson, you think committing crimes against and robbing other black people to enrich yourself, that's what it's all about. Brother Polite. We are now fostering these grifters and these criminals because they have created a religion that has become based on monetary acquisition. They'll lie and tell you that's not the truth, but it is. Otherwise, they wouldn't have 3 or 4 vacation homes, a private jet, and more. And one day, it's all going to fall down. You see, you haven't seen the worst of it yet. The oligarchy is making things worse. They control the hip-hop industry because they know how powerful it is. So they're feeding satanic lyrics and beats to black people to cause them to act out of their mind. But you haven't seen the worst of it yet. They're leading you to death and destruction. They want you to worship Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Sexy Red. And it's working. It's working. And they have a big surprise coming for you. And you're just following them off that cliff, like in the tarot deck. The Fool, following them off that cliff to your own death. Listen, if you've enjoyed this message, then please donate to the channel. In the description box, I've got my CashApp and PayPal information. So please donate. This is Qesankh Keparu, son of my aunt in Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Hedaru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.